So welcome back to the History of the Farms series. Today I'm going to be covering the history of the Bringer farm. And this farm is a little different than the Bronstein one due to the fact that my grandpa started the farm, had no help getting it started, and was on his own for years. And his line of equipment was a little different than the Bronstein farm, and the acreage was a lot different, and the history overall is going to be very different from the Bronstein farm. Now, my grandpa Bringer bought the farm in 1984. There's roughly 200 acres right there at the main farm. He bought it for $200,000, which is a very different price from today. And the first line of equipment he had was a John Deere 4010, a 7000 John Deere planter, 6 rows, an 8-foot John Deere disc, and when it come time to harvest, he bought a 55 John Deere combine with both the headers. For a grain truck, he rented one from another farmer in the area, and he just farmed the home farm there, and went out, tried to rent some farms from people who didn't want to farm, and they just went around the land, and that's how he got it all started. While he did go work for other farmers later on in the 80s through the early 90s to make a little extra money, and in the late 80s he started his fertilizer business, fertilizer and lime spreading. Started with one truck and eventually grew to a few more. And at one point he had 3 Louisville Fords, and which we still have one today, and just grew it from there to where he is now with still has the International floater truck, the new Case IH floater truck, one of the original Louisvilles, and another Louisville set up like the International and the Case IH floater trucks. And he kept going, grew the farm, updated equipment. He went with all different brands. He had a John Deere 4440 at one time, a John Deere 4840 in the early 2000s, a 7120, a Case IH 7120, a 7040 Allis-Chalmers, an 826 International, all just different equipment that led up to the lineup we have today. Now, before he purchased the farm, he started working for my great-grandpa, Frank Bearhorst, who was my grandma's dad, and Frank was the owner of my pickup I have now. Now, he worked there in the mid to late 70s, getting his start. He'd help him with the farming. He'd drive a truck for him. That's how he got the idea to start spreading fertilizer when he was farming. He worked there for a few years, then he quit in the early 80s. Then in the late 80s through the mid 90s, he went and worked for another farmer named J. Dwayne Frieden down by the Quincy, Illinois. And he worked there for quite a few years. Then he went to work for Randy Clucky, a farmer down by Palmyra, Missouri. And he worked there for a few years. And to this day, he hasn't worked for a farmer in quite a while, just doing his own work. He was able to gain enough acreage to keep doing what he wants to do. Now, I joined the operation in 2015. It's when I started doing a little more field work. I mainly just run the disc around the farm. I helped feed the cows, because that was also the year we got cows again. And eventually I started raking hay, and one thing led to another. Now I cover most of the tillage myself. I'm going to be planting beans this year. I run the grain cart, I run the combine. Now that I have a license, I run the pickups, and I move the semis around. I've gained more abilities, learned through the years. Now I can do most of the work on the farm alongside him. And for years, the only help he had was how much my dad helped him, his brother-in-law helped him, or whatever my grandma could do moving equipment wise. But for years all the work he ever did was on his own, and that is why he's glad to have help today. While we're doing this video, I thought I would cover the equipment lineup for the farm. We have Case IH 7230 50th edition Magnum, the Case IH MX 240, Case IH MX 120 loader tractor, the John Deere 3020, the John Deere 8760 4-wheel drive, the two 2188 Case IH combines, the two Freightliner FLD 120 semis, the 04 Duramax, the 01 Dodge service truck, the 95 F350 Ford Power Stroke, along with two Louisville floater trucks, a standard front end and a floater. Then we have the Case IH FLX 4510 floater that we just recently purchased, along with an 1845C skid steer case and a 650G John Deere dozer. I hope you enjoyed the video covering the history of the Bringer farm. Please stay tuned, because after this video is done, I will be doing a video on how B&B Farms got its start. Now that we have covered the Bronstein farm and the Bringer farm, I figured I'd do one that cover how the two got tied together and how B&B Farms got the name. So thanks for watching. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe. Please share the channel with your friends. We're hoping to be able to gain some new subscribers and a lot of new fans this year. So hope y'all enjoyed, and I will talk to you next time.